Good afternoon, guys. This is my afternoon session right now. Hopefully, you guys are having a wonderful Monday. I don't have anybody in here yet, but I'll say good afternoon for those that are checking in with me. We've got one person in here, so if anyone wants to say hello, good afternoon, checking in with the afternoon Monday session here. You want to say hello? I'll be talking about the circulatory system today and talking about your assignments for this week. We'll wait a few more minutes here while we get started. See if a few more people check in. So far, I only got one person in here. Okay, hi. How you doing, Gus? Hopefully you're doing well. Looks like I got a couple extra people coming in here right now. All right, hello. Good afternoon. You doing good this day today, Gus? How's your Monday going? If you have any questions, you can type in your on the live chat. That's so I can communicate back and forth to you guys that way. Any questions you may have, Gus, before we get started? Okay, no questions. Okay, did you watch the video with Mr. Canaloo and I on the circulatory system? We were shooting basketball. Did you watch the video that I put out? Hi, Dylan. Thanks for checking in. I see you just checked in there too. All right, that's good. It looks like you subscribed to my channel. I sent you a note there. Okay, you saw the video. Good. All right, good job, Gus. You saw the video. Dylan, did you see the video as well? I put a video out with Mr. Canaloo. We were shooting basketball. Okay, you saw it too. Good. Excellent. All right, good job. So you have a little idea what's going on with the circulatory system. And I'm going to present today on the circulatory system. And then if you have questions, you could ask questions as I go along here. So I'm going to start from the beginning on the circulatory system. So just kind of introducing it and what it actually is and so on. So, all right, so the circulatory system is a system responsible for transporting materials throughout the entire body, not just blood, but water, nutrients, oxygen to billions of your body cells that carry away waste such as carbon dioxide that the body cell produces. So it's an actually amazing highway that travels through your entire body, connecting all your body cells. So it's a pretty cool network of vessels and veins and capillaries. Okay, so we're going to talk about those as well too, what those are. So some of the main components in the circulatory system, we've got a few main components. Obviously, the first main component is your heart. Okay, for beating and contracting and for our survival. Our heart stops so we don't continue to move, right? So our heart is probably one of the main components with the circulatory system. Blood is also an important part of the circulatory system for movement of that blood as it gets transported to different areas around your body. And then vessels are another important area. They connect into the heart, into other networks of ways for transportation. So they're broken down into arteries, veins, and capillaries. Those are the three main types of vessels. So those meaning blood vessels. So arteries, veins, and capillaries are types of blood vessels, and we're going to kind of talk about each one of those ones there as we continue on. Any other questions that you guys may have so far, you could just, like I said, a couple other people checked in here. You could write your answer on the live chat bar where I can see as I'm checking it back and forth here throughout while I'm presenting here. So I'm going to talk about the circulatory system right now, and then I'll talk eventually about your project and some of the assignments that are due at the end of the week. So just kind of bear with me here on some of the terms and some of the important things to know. So I'm going to ask you this question here. Which gases are transported to and from the body cells by the blood flow in the circulatory system? Well, we studied these gases in the last section we were talking about last week on the respiratory system. So I'm giving you a clue. Think about a gas or a gas exchange. Okay, so what gases are transported to and from the body cells by the blood flowing in the circulatory system? So what do you think? We talked about a couple types of gases. You can just type your answer if you think you know it right on the chat bar there. So if you want to try, Dylan or Gus, since I know you're in here, you could respond back. Just try your best with the best answer there. So what gases, I'm asking a question, what gases are transported to and from the body cells by the blood in the circulatory system? Okay, Dylan got it. And same with Liam. Thanks, Liam, for checking in there too. All right. As well, oxygen. Oxygen is the main gas. Good job. Oxygen and carbon dioxide. But we're going to focus more on oxygen. And oxygen is the gas needed for respiration and is transported to the body cells. So very good. Yeah, that is the main thing that needs to be transported is oxygen throughout. All right. Now there's two types of blood. Okay. I'm going to talk about these two types. There's oxygen-rich blood and there's oxygen-poor blood. All right, so oxygen-rich blood is blood traveling to the body cells. It's going to other parts around the body. It has high oxygen content and has low carbon dioxide content. Now, oxygen-poor blood is blood traveling away from the body cells. So going the other way from the body cells are probably going towards the heart. Okay, going away. So they're low oxygen content and they're high carbon dioxide content. So the arrangement of the circulatory system means that these two types of bloods do not mix. Okay, they go different places in different areas. Okay, so oxygen-rich blood, oxygen-poor blood. So make note to that as well as two types of blood in the circulatory system. They're good to know. Okay. All right, now I was talking about the heart. The heart is an organ at the center of the circulatory system. It pumps blood all around the body. So the heart is the main function of the circulatory system, like I was saying earlier, and it pumps blood all throughout the body to other veins, capillaries, and arteries for your movement and for your survival. Okay, all right. Anybody else have any more questions? Okay, I'm just double checking here. So we got Liam, we got Dylan, we got Gus. I'm not too sure who the other person is here. You could say your name on the screen. It says your title name is Goose the Moose. So if you could just tell me who your name is there. I'm not too sure who your screen name is there. So make sure you just say hello. All right. Okay. Now, circulatory system, the inside of the heart is divided into two sections, like I was talking about, that have two types of blood. The oxygen-rich and oxygen-poor blood are kept apart. So the right side of your heart is where the oxygen-poor blood is going out of. The left side of the heart is where the oxygen-rich blood is going to. Okay, so the left side of the heart, oxygen-rich blood, right side of the heart, oxygen poor blood. So it's divided into those two sections there. Okay. Next, I'm going to talk about are the heart itself, its structures or coverings. Okay. The main structure, what it's called, is the pericardium. It's a protective sac around the connective tissue that surrounds the heart. And it's usually filled with fluid, and they call that the pericardium is the name for that. It's a protective sac that surrounds the heart. It's usually filled with fluid. And these are some structures around the heart now. These are like kind of like the layers around the heart. The outermost layer is also known as the epicardium, and it's has the where fat is like a cushion to the heart. So it's kind of your outermost layer. The middle layer is called the myocardium. That's probably one of the most important areas is the middle. And we'll talk a little bit more about the middle here in just a bit. But that's the primary cardiac muscle is the myocardium. And then the innermost layer is called the endocardium. And it's usually thin and smooth and it stretches around as the heart pumps. Okay, is the endocardium is what that's called. All right, now I was talking about the myocardium, saying that's the middle or the muscle of the heart. It's strong and thick, and it's composed of spontaneously contracting cardiac muscle fibers, and they can conduct electricity like nerves. Okay, so that's kind of how it performs. Its blood supply comes from other coronary arteries. Okay. All right. Oh, it's Diego. How you doing, Diego? I did not recognize your screen name there. So good to see you on here as well too. Make sure you're keeping up with the assignments and getting the assignments turned in for me. I don't think I have gotten much work from you, Diego. So I know if you've just recently signed up, make sure you go back and look at the assignments and get some of the work turned in. Okay. All right. If you have any questions, you could always ask on here or email or message me on Teams too. Okay. Good to see you on here. Okay. All right. Good. Excellent. All right. All right. Continuing on with the heart and its structures. The right and left sides of the heart are separated by something called a septum. A septum is usually a wall. Okay, like a nose septum, it splits your nasal cavity. Your heart is split with a wall as well, so it's separated. The septum prevents the mixing of oxygen-rich and oxygen-poor blood from the right side and the left side of your heart. So on each side of the septum are two chambers. These are important ones. You need to know these, and this is what will be for your assignment here as well too. And I'll talk about this at the end of the segment today. The upper chamber receives blood is the atrium. Okay, that's blood coming to the heart. It receives the blood. The lower two chambers, the right and left ventricles, pump blood out of the heart or away from the heart. Okay, so the upper chambers receive the blood. The lower chambers, they pump out the blood. So there's a right and left atrium and a right and left ventricle, and that's what they do. They pump in and then pump out the blood. All right, so like I was talking about, the four chambers. The two are the atria or atrium. It could be pronounced either said either way. The upper chambers, all right, left and right, and they're separated by what they call an interatrial septum. Remember, like a wall, okay, split between the two. All right, and the two ventricles are the two lower chambers. They have a left and right, and they're separated by an interventricular septum, like a wall as well too. Okay, so they both have these like chambers that kind of separate them. Okay, but flow of blood is coming in and out of the heart. So the chambers of the heart have different functions. The atria collects the blood that enters the heart. Like I said, it enters through the atria or atrium, and the ventricles pump out the blood. So coming into the blood to the body, and then blood to the lungs is through the ventricles. Okay, and then the blood to the lungs, and then blood from the body from the atria. There'll be areas of like the arrows of the way that it flows. Okay, coming into and out of the blood. Okay. All right. Anybody else have any questions so far? Okay. All right. Continuing on with the heart itself. Now, the valves between the atria and the ventricles are connected to the inner walls of the heart by tough tendons. Okay, tendons are what kind of keep them connected with these inner walls. These are valves. Someone that has a heart valve or replaced, it's basically an opening of the heart. So we'll talk about the valve here next. So basically, the valve between the atria and the ventricles to an inner wall of the heart by tendons. All right, and I'm going to explain some parts on the valves here next. Now, the tendons allow the valves to close and hold the valve flaps in place. And they prevent the valves from flipping up and turning inside out as well. So when it's open, it kind of looks like that, straight open. When it's closed, it kind of looks like a T. Okay, so they open and close, okay, for the valve, all right, of the heart, okay, going from each chamber, the atria to the ventricle, all right. And the valve acts like a door that opens in one direction, basically. So if the door is held by somebody at a fixed point, like somebody opening a door from someone, all right, only the arm moves as the door opens and closes, okay. But when the door is closed, the arm is fully extended, so the door could be open in one direction. So there's like the door would be more so like the valve, okay, being held open, and the arm of it holding it is the valve tendon. So there's the valve and the valve tendon that kind of work together of the flow of the blood coming into the heart. Okay. And the valve acts like a door that only opens, like I said, in one direction. Okay, just like at a fixed point. So not going it just one way, not going all the way to another direction. So in the heart, the tendons holding the valves are like an arm holding the door. So one end of each tendon is fixed to the wall of the heart so that the valve can only open in one. Okay, any questions so far? All right, good. Okay, we're continuing with the valve, heart valve itself. All right, and now we're going to talk about how the heart, how does the heart pump the blood? Okay, when it contracts. So the heart can pump blood because it is made of a muscle. It is your largest muscle in your body, or the strongest muscle, they say, and is your heart. So the muscle tissue works by contracting, squeezing, and relaxing. So squeeze, relax. So that is how blood is pumped. Okay. So all the parts of the heart on either side work together in a repeated sequence. The two atria, the two top parts, contract and then relax. The two ventricles then contract and relax. The two bottom parts, the bottom chambers. So this is how blood moves through the heart and it is pumped to the lungs and other parts of the body. So one completion of contraction and relaxation is called a heartbeat. Like how many somebody has a certain amount of beats per minute, a heartbeat. Some may have 80, might 90. If you're really working out hard, you might hit somebody up to 200 beats a minute. So when it contracts, relax, contract, relax. They could go really fast or really slow, depending on how fast someone is completing or doing aerobic exercises. Okay, all right, from being physical outside to from running, playing sports, or even just relaxing. Of course, when you're relaxing, your heartbeat's going a lot slower. But when you're worked up in physical activity, your activity is going to increase and the heartbeat's going to increase, contract, relax very, very fast. Okay, so that's going to be the difference between the two. Okay. All right. Any other questions so far before I continue on? All right. Excellent. All right. Moving on, as I'm going to talk next about blood vessels itself. Okay, there are three types of blood vessels, and these are important to know since you'll have to know this for your activity here. As blood moves through the circulatory system, it moves through three types of blood vessels. So those are arteries, which carry blood away from the heart. Okay, so think of the word away, starts with the letter A. Arteries start with the letter A, so it moves it away from the blood or the heart. Okay, so the arteries are usually larger. They're the largest of the three types of blood vessels. So the arteries are going to carry blood away from the heart. Capillaries, they're the smallest ones. They actually link what they call the arterioles. Okay, they're small parts of the arteries to the veins. Okay. And in veins, on the other hand, they carry blood to the heart. So veins carry blood to the heart. Arteries start with the letter A, away. In artery, they carry it away from the heart. So it's easy to remember arteries because it carries it away because they both start with the letter A. Veins towards the heart, and in capillaries, they link. They provide linkage between the arteries and veins, and they're usually the smaller ones. Okay, they're much smaller for the capillary. But those are the three types of blood vessels. You need to know this. Okay, you also see that you'll see those on Brain Pop and for your assignment there too. All right, so I'm going to kind of break down some parts on the arteries here next. Like I was saying, arteries, they are the largest of the vessels. Okay, so the largest vessels, they carry blood from the heart to tissues of the body. And they carry oxygen-rich blood, which we were talking about earlier, the two types of blood, oxygen-rich and oxygen-poor. So they carry the oxygen-rich blood with the exception of the pulmonary arteries. Pulmonary is your breathing, okay, like your lungs. All right, so they have thick walls for the arteries, and they need to withstand pressure produced when the heart pushes blood into them, like your arteries are usually have the thick walls on them, okay? All right, so capillaries, as I mentioned earlier, they're another type of blood vessel. They are the smallest of the blood vessels. So the walls are only 1 celled, thick, or very narrow. Remember, they connect the arteries to the veins. So they're important for bringing nutrients and oxygen to tissues and absorbing carbon dioxide and other waste. So they help bring the nutrients and oxygen and absorb carbon dioxide as other waste is their main importance there of the capillaries. Okay. All right. Next I'm going to get into is veins. All right. Any questions so far? Looks like somebody said hello here. I'm not too sure who's Sam. I'm not too sure who Sam is. Who's Sam? If you could state who you are, just, so I know who you are in here. Is it Sam Nestor, I'm assuming, or is it Sam Tinoco? I'm not too sure of the two Sams that I have. So I'm assuming it might be Sam Nestor. So just let me know who you are there. So your screen name's Sam T. Okay. All right. Sam T. All right. Thanks, Sam. Okay. Thanks for checking in as well, too. Sam, do you have any questions or anybody else in here? Sam, Gus, Dylan, some students are in here, Diego. Thanks for checking in. Any questions that you may have on the circulatory system so far? Not about the project yet. Hold the questions for the project. I'll get to that later on here, but I'm just talking about just basic general questions on that. Okay, no, nope. Okay, very good. Thanks for responding. All right, continuing on with veins. Okay, so we're on to veins right now. Once blood is passed through the capillary system, it must be returned to the heart. It's usually done by the veins. Okay, so the veins take that blood towards the heart. So walls contain connective tissue and smooth muscle tissue. So the largest veins contain one-way valves that keep the blood flowing towards the heart. Okay, so they kind of keep it one direction, one-way valve. All right. So many found near skeletal muscles. When muscles contract, blood is forced through the veins. Okay, so the veins, like I said, go towards the heart, and they usually go as a one-way valve towards that direction. Okay. All right, next thing I'm going to talk about is blood pressure. For those that are in here right now, how many people in here? Yes, Sam, there will be a project on this, and I'll talk about that here in about maybe 10 minutes or so. I'm going to ask you guys here about blood pressure right now. How many of you guys have been to the doctors and you've had your blood pressure taken? Where they put that kind of band around your arm and kind of tightens, usually around your bicep, and they kind of squeeze the pressure in it, and then they're going to measure something. So majority of you guys have had that before, right? Yeah, a lot of you guys have had it. Thanks. Yeah, it makes your arm real tight. Okay, very good. All right, so next thing I'm going to talk about is blood pressure. So the heart produces pressure. So the force of blood on the wall of the arteries is known as blood pressure. So blood pressure decreases as the heart relaxes. When your heart relaxes, all right, the blood pressure decreases. But when the circulatory system, the rest of the circulatory system is still under pressure. So then you'll start to feel when it increases and pumps, that's where you're going to feel the increase in the pressure there. Okay, so when blood pressure is taken, they put that cup, like I told you, wrapped around your upper portion of your arm and pumped up until the airflow is blown in the artery is blocked. Okay, so that's what they do. They make that so the artery in your arm feels really tight. Okay, so as the pressure in the cuff is relaxed, they record two numbers. Two numbers are recorded usually. So the first one, they call it, is the systolic pressure. Okay, the first number taken is the force felt in the arteries when the ventricle, the lower parts, contract. The diastolic pressure, the second number taken, is the force of the blood on the arteries when the ventricles actually relax. Okay, so usually, like someone has a pretty good blood pressure reading is usually about 120/80, the higher number over the lower number. So if that lower number starts to become high, or it kind of matches that number, that means somebody has their blood pressure's usually going to be high. As they want to have usually someone has low blood pressure, good blood pressure is usually about 120/80. Okay, so many of us have had that before. All right, looks like we have a couple questions here. Okay, we got Sam and Gus here. Okay, they also took blood tests for me. So, okay, what Sam's saying here, so when your heart is beating really fast, your blood pressure is high, not necessarily all the time. With your blood pressure, with your heart beating fast, doesn't mean that your blood pressure is going to be very high. That just means that at that time you're working out. It could be, say, you're doing physical activity. It's just that you're increasing that blood pressure. It doesn't mean that you have high blood pressure as like a problem. But that's when someone, like when the doctors, they want to check to see if you have high blood pressure when you're relaxing. Okay. All right. All right, so continuing on with blood pressure, good questions here. I'm glad we got some question and feedback here. All right, I'm going to ask you this question here now. This is be a just take a guess at this here, or maybe just a percentage here. I'm asking you for a percent, so you can write your percent as a number. What percent of your body is blood? What percent of your blood do you think is blood? Write your answer on here, like 50%, 20%, 30%. All right, looks like Diego has some questions. Sometimes my eyes turn blind, become weak. My doctor said, okay, for pressure, that could happen. Now, I'm not saying that's true. Your doctor said blood pressure. That's something, you know, with your eyesight, that might have weak. Yeah, you might become weak in your arm or whatever from it, but your eyesight shouldn't have anything to do with that. Okay, we had 75%, we have 20% by Sam. Those are good answers there. It's going to be lower than 20%, believe it or not. How much of your body percent? I asked, what percent of your body is blood? All right, so it's going to be lower than 20%. So it's actually about 8% of your body is blood. So it's a pretty low amount. It's more than you think you'd have more blood in your body, but it's about 8% of their body is blood. All right, so how much blood do we contain? Well, we have an average about 4 to 6 liters of blood in our body. So we contain about a pint of blood for every 15 pounds of body weight. All right. So then composition of blood is broken down to next. So what percent of your blood is cellular? Well, that's about 45% is cellular. And what percent of your blood is plasma? It's about 55% of it is plasma. Okay, so we're going to talk about plasma and blood cells next. Okay, so or just blood in general. So blood is basically composed of plasma and blood cells. There are three types of blood cells. There are red blood cells, there are white blood cells, and then one called platelets. You may have heard of platelets before as well too. And then there's plasma. Plasma is a little bit different. Plasma is usually like a straw-like color, like a beigeish brown. It's actually made up of about 90% water, and 10% of it is actually dissolved gases, salts, nutrients, enzymes, hormones, wastes, and proteins, which make up the plasma. Okay. All right, so there's some differences between it. Now, plasma has proteins. They have three types of proteins. I'm not asking you to remember these, but these are good to know. These are some scientific terms. The first one is called albumins, albumins, albumins. The next one are called globulins, globulins, okay? And the last one are called fibrinogens, okay? So these are the types of proteins in the plasma. The albumins and the globulins they transport substances such as fatty acids, hormones, and vitamins is what they actually do. Some of their transporting of those wastes and vitamins. The fibrinogens are responsible for blood's ability to clot. And we'll talk about some of the ability for blood to clot when it actually clumps together, okay, when you get a wound on your hand and so on, or cut on your knee and it bleeds out, and then you have like a scab over time, which will cause a clot. So red blood cells are actually the most numerous type. So there's the most amount of them in your body are red blood cells. They call those RBCs. Okay, that's just abbreviated, red blood cells, RBCs. They transport oxygen. They get color from hemoglobin. They're usually disc-shaped, and they're made of red bone marrow, and they circulate about 120 days. It's like usually about 3 or 4 months or so for the circulation for the red blood cells. Okay. All right. And your next type of cell is called the white blood cells. What the white blood cells do is they fight against infection. they fight against parasites, and they attack bacteria. So especially if somebody is, especially with bacteria or viruses, that kind of stuff, they help your immune system. They're a big part of your immune system fighting back. Okay, so the number of white blood cells increase when the body is fighting. Okay, there's uh, particles called lymphocytes that produce antibodies, which fight the pathogens, and actually they kind of remember them. So that's what the white blood cells do. All right, any questions so far? Plasma, looks like we had a couple questions on plasma. Yes, if you want to be more specific on plasma, like I said, plasma is only made up of it's 90% water and 10% gases, salts, and enzymes, and its coloration is a little bit different than regular blood cells or blood colors. Okay, like I said, straw colored. So it's 90% water, 10% gases, salts, nutrients, enzymes, hormones, waste, proteins that make up plasma. Okay, so I saw a couple of people with questions. Okay, all right. All right, excellent. Moving on here. I believe the last part I talked about red blood cells. Those are the most numerous ones. Somebody I think asked what the bone marrow is. Bone marrow is part of um, made in the red bone marrow within the joint is what that's actually from. So we do have bone marrow in our body there too. So the red blood cells are made within that marrow, within the bone itself. Okay, is what that means. Okay, all right, and platelets were the last type. So platelets they aid the body in clotting. Okay, whenever you get a cut or wound and so on, a clot. All right, so they help for clotting. They're usually small fragments, and they stick to edges of broken blood cells, and they secrete clotting factor to help them form a clot. So they're a little bit different. So those are some of the three main types there of types of red blood cells. So you have red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. Okay, those are the three types of blood. Okay, three types of blood, and then it's separate from that group is plasma. Okay, so plasma is its own classification of it. So the three types of blood cells: red, white blood cells, platelets, and then plasma, its own component, but it kind of goes along with the blood. Okay, all right. So any other questions so far? All right. Okay, moving on. Almost done. I have one more section here on the white or the blood functions as itself, and we'll be done, and I'll be able to talk about the project and help answer any other questions that you may have. So blood itself has three main functions. The first one is for transport. Okay, it transports nutrients throughout the body. Okay, protection is its next function. It helps protect and aid for like the white blood cells fight against infections. Okay, and temperature regulations help keep your body regulated. They call that homeostasis at a level of equalness. Okay, so blood has three main functions: transport, protection, temperature, and regulation. Temperature regulation control is the same thing. Okay, so that concludes everything on the basics of the circulatory system. And I'll talk about well, it looks like we got Hayden in here. Hi, Hayden. How are you as well? Hopefully, you could go back and listen to the earlier parts of the session here too. I'm going to before I do a little question and answer, I'm going to explain the project here. Hopefully, you all had a chance to see the video that Mr. Canaloo and I put in there. Okay. We had a video of us shooting basketball, talking about the circulatory system. For this week's project, you have two things to do. Okay. So, you have a project on due Friday and a brain pop due Friday, along with the vocabulary and the quiz. Okay. All right. So you have the brain pop to watch. It's a video of 10 questions and the vocabulary words to complete. Okay. And you have to research on the circulatory system, what we're talking about. So you are to draw a diagram of the heart and the veins going in and showing the flow of blood to and from the heart, like we talked about, from the atrium and the ventricles. And we would like you to put them in blue and red. Red leaving the heart or going towards the heart. Blue showing the transportation of of the materials away from the heart. Okay, blood going away from the heart. So you're going to kind of highlight that. And of course, talking about the veins, arteries, and capillaries, the three main vessels throughout the body. So you can maybe find a diagram online and or draw one of these out. You can do it either way, and color it that way and label what each part does. Okay, what the veins do, what the capillaries do, what the arteries do, what the right ventricle does, what the left ventricle does, and so on. All right, yeah, Diego, this is your project. It's on Microsoft Teams. I put it out there. Okay, all right, and we'll have it out this afternoon here as well too. Okay, I don't think I put the details of the project, which I'll put the details out on the project, but you could get an idea of what you're going to be doing. So you're going to be drawing a diagram. We explained it in the video, so if you watch the video, the last part of the video telling us what to do. And then the second part of that is you're going to research a cardiovascular disease or circulatory disease. Okay, so that could be a heart attack, stroke, someone with coronary artery. These are cardiovascular diseases. Hypertension, someone with high blood pressure, like I was talking about, putting that arm cuff around your arm whenever you go to the doctors. So you're gonna be putting those on. You can do it on the same paper as your diagram. So you'll be sending this in due Friday. So you're gonna be drawing a diagram of the heart, showing the flow of blood to and from the heart, and labeling the parts, what they do. And I'll put some vocabulary words on there for you to define with that. And then I would like you to research a cardiovascular disease. Tell me about it, how it affects other people, maybe the symptoms and treatments with somebody who have kind of similar to what you had last week when you had the respiratory system. You had to research a respiratory disease last week. So yes. So it looks like your questions, Diego, to make a diagram of the heart. Yes. Do you have a Teams page? Yes. You're under my class team number 4, Diego. So that's where you're at. I know you're rather new to getting on here. First time I've seen you on here. So yeah, hopefully you're on my Teams page. I believe you are. So I put all the emails in earlier this year. So it's the first time seeing you checking in with me. So make sure you're keeping up with that. All right, Sam, do you have any questions there too about the project? Looks like you wrote a few things. Diagram of the heart, yes. Okay, I'll be putting some of the information out this afternoon, so just be on the lookout on the Teams page for it for the details due Friday. But brain pop and the diagram of the heart, along with the research of a cardiovascular disease, and I'll provide more details for that. So that's the basics for it right now. All right, any other questions, comments, concerns about the circulatory system? If you don't have any questions, I'm going to turn it over to you guys, and I'm going to ask you some questions and see how well you are paying attention. So you can write your answer right in the live chat bar here. So we'll do a little question answer here right now if you don't have any questions. So I'm available for questions right now on what to do. Okay, you're not on the Teams page. Well, provide me your correct email. Maybe I had the incorrect email for you. So give me your email, the one that the teachers are communicating with you on. It usually ends in outlook.com. Just write it down here on the chat bar here, and I'll put it in and change that, Diego, if that's an issue. Okay. All right. Let me see. All right. So that's a new one. Let me see, Diego, I have DIG or DI3 GOANDR3 at Outlook. Does that sound right? That's a really long one. DI3. You sure that's not a G? DI3 GOANDR3 at Outlook. Okay, that's what you're saying your email is. Okay, I'll go make sure at the end of the segment to go back and check that and make sure that's the right one that you have there. Okay. All right, so that's your email. All right, so then once I accept that one, you'll be able to get that information if you haven't been getting the information so far. Okay, and you can go back and check the other assignments that you need to get caught up on there too. Okay. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you guys some questions here. So See how well you've been paying attention here on some parts of the circulatory system. Okay. There were, I don't know if you, I'll start with an easy one here to start us off. All right. This is the main organ, okay, of the circulatory system. It's in the center of the circulatory system and it pumps blood all around the body. What is that organ called? It's the organ of the center of the circulatory system that pumps blood all around the body. All right, looks like Dylan got it. Looks like Diego got it. It is the heart. Very good. Start off with a nice and easy one. Heart's your first answer. Good job. All right. There were two specific types of blood in the circulatory system. What are they? Just name them. There were two types of blood in the circulatory system. What were they called? I went over them in the early part of the segment. I don't know what your answer is there, Dylan. RIC. Is that supposed to be? Can you retype that, Dylan? Okay. Oxygen poor blood is one. And I think you meant to say the other one. Rich blood, oxygen rich blood's the other. Very good. So you have two. So oxygen rich blood was blood traveling to body cells, high oxygen content, low carbon dioxide content. Oxygen poor blood is blood traveling away from body cells, which have low oxygen content and high carbon dioxide content. Okay, so very good. Those were the two types of blood, oxygen rich and oxygen poor. Okay, excellent job. All right. All right, let's see. I'll try another question here. See how well you guys been paying attention. All right, this was called the middle layer or the primary cardiac muscle of the layer of the heart. What is the middle layer or the primary cardiac muscle area of the heart called? What is the middle layer or the primary cardiac muscle called? You put your answer on the chart. The Maya. Okay, you're on the right track there. M-A-Y. I think I know how to spell it. So you're on the right track, Diego. You had the right answer. That would have been the myocardium. Very good. You got it. I see you retyped it there. The myocardium is the middle layer and middle chamber of the heart. Good job. Okay, of the heart structure itself. All right. And that's a strong, thick layer, the myocardium. Good job. All right. How about this word? What is the word? What is a septum? The right and left sides of the heart were separated by a septum. Remember, what was a septum? Like you have space between the chambers of the heart. They also call it a septum, S-E-P-T-U-M. What does that word mean? Separated by a septum. Anyone know what that means? Type your answer on that one, a septum. Okay, it separates two chambers. Very good. All right, so basically it's a wall. The septum is a wall. Okay, so the septum prevents the mixing of the oxygen-rich and oxygen-poor blood. Okay, now on each side of the septum there are two chambers. What were the upper chambers of the heart called? What are the upper two chambers of the heart called? You have a right part and a left part of it. Okay, I'm not going to say the word or the name because that gives it away. So what were the upper chambers that receive the blood called? What were the upper chambers that receive the blood called? Okay, it looks like Diego got it there. All right, it is called the atrium. That's where the area they receive the blood. Very good. Okay, the atrium. Okay, the lower chambers where it pumps out of the heart are called what? What are the two lower chambers called? It pumps the blood out of the heart. The two lower chambers, what are they called? The two lower chambers of the heart, what are they called? It pumps the blood away out of the heart. So the atrium takes the blood into the heart. They receives the blood. The next area actually pumps the two lower chambers pump it out. What are those lower chambers called? Okay, looks like Diego, you got it there again, but I'm gonna give a chance for somebody else maybe to get to type it in. Yes, looks like Vicente maybe got that right there. It would be the ventricle. Very good. So the ventricle, and Diego had that there too, is right. Yeah, Vicente, very good. Good job. All right. All right, so good job. So the ventricle pumps the blood out of the heart. Nice job. All right, let me go on to another question. So you have a right and left atrium and a right and left ventricle, okay, of the heart. Okay. Okay. Now this area is between the atrium and ventricles and are connected to an inner wall of the heart by these tendons. What was that called? Remember they were like openings? They opened like a door. And they were like they were straight open and they closed like a door. Okay, what was that called? They connect the atria and the ventricles. This is between the atria and ventricles, and they're connected by an inner wall of the heart by these tough tendons. Does anyone remember what that was called? Yes, very good. You got that correct, Diego. Nice job. All right. That is the valve. Okay, or yes, good job. It is the valve, the heart valve. Okay, it actually acts like a doorway, protects and opens the inner wall there, so it opens and closes. Okay, all right, good job. All right, let me ask you a few more questions here before we end for today on the circulatory system, just the basics on the circulatory system here. Okay. Okay, 1 second, guys. Here, I'll have a little computer problems here. It's acting really, really slow. Okay, I'm going to talk about the types of blood vessels next. These carry blood towards the heart. What are those called? This carries blood towards the heart. This carries blood. Okay, very good. Diego got it. I'm not going to say the answer yet. See if somebody else wants to put their answer. Dylan or Vicente, who else is on here? Yep, you got it. You got it, Vicente. You got it, Diego. Dylan, you want to give it a shot? These carry. This carries blood towards the heart. One of the types of blood vessels. What are they called? Oh, yeah, excellent. You got it there too on the second try there. Not valve, but the answer is veins. Good job. All three of you guys got that, veins. Now, these link arteries and veins, and they're the smallest of the blood vessels. What are those called? These link arteries and veins. What are they called? They're the smallest of the vessels. You got Sam in there too. Good job, Sam. You got that right as well. Nope, not the kidneys. We're not on the excretory system or that was the last couple sections ago when we talked about the kidneys. You're half right there, Diego. I think you need to type more of the word. I think you may have maybe not just misspelled it, but maybe not how it's spelled. You're on the right track, both of you guys. I think Okay, well, I think I know what you meant to say for Diego and Gus. All right, and it's yeah, there you go. You got it second time around there. It is the capillaries. The capillaries are the smallest of the vessels, very good that connect the veins and the arteries. And this is the vessel that carries blood away from the heart. Remember, it says starts with the letter A. So I'm giving you a clue right there. This is the vessel that carries blood away from the heart. What is that one called? Write your answer down for that one next. So this carries blood away from the heart. What is this one called? Starts with the letter A. Was a clue that I've given you. All right, Diego, you got that. That's correct so far. So give somebody else get a chance at that. All right, Dylan, you got it. Same with you, Vicente. Very good. All you guys got that. That is the arteries. Very good. The arteries. All right, a couple more questions before we end for today on this segment. All right, I'm going to talk a little bit about the blood as itself. Okay. All right. This is the most numerous type of blood cell. It transports oxygen. It's usually disc shaped and it gets color from hemoglobin, and it's made in red bone marrow. So, what kind of blood cell would that be? It's the most numerous type. It transports oxygen, and it gets color from hemoglobin, and it's usually disc shaped. What is that type of blood cell called? So, I'm talking about types of blood right now. All right, bye, Sam. Thanks for checking in today. Nope, not. I'll repeat the question one more time here. This is a type of blood cell. Remember, there's three types of blood cells. This is the most numerous type. It transports oxygen. It's disc-shaped, and it gets color from hemoglobin. What was that one called? What type of blood cell was that? If you paid attention in early segment today. So the most numerous type of blood cell transports oxygen. It's disc-shaped and gets color from hemoglobin. All right, very good. It is the red blood cells, the RBCs for the abbreviation of it, red blood cells. Good job. All right, this type of blood cells guard against infection, fight parasites, and attack bacteria. So, what is this one called? What type of blood cell is this? It fights against infections, fights parasites, and fights against bacteria. What kind of blood cell is that called? Very good. Diego got that one. Excellent. It is the white blood cell. Very good. The white blood cell. Same with you, Vicente. Good job. All right. So, excellent. All right. And the last one, I'm going to say it off to you right now. This is another type of blood cell that aids the body in clotting in small fragments, and they stick together the broken blood cells, and it helps form a clot. What would that be? That helps for clotting, aids in clotting in small fragments. What type of blood cell would that be called? And I'll give you a clue. No, it's not plasma, but it does start with the letter P. I mentioned it earlier. So it aids the body in clotting in small fragments. Helps form clots. What is that? This is a part of a type of blood cell in the body. Yes, very good. Good job, Diego. Good job, Vicente. They are called platelets. Good job. All right, and your very last question I have for you. Blood has three functions. Name one of the three functions. Blood has three main functions. I talked about them at the end when I was presenting it earlier. What is one main function of blood? Just write an answer down. One or two word answer. What is a function of blood? Blood has three main functions. Just list one of them. Transportation, very good. That's one. That could be stated as one. Good job, Diego. They helps transport nutrients, very good, and minerals throughout the body. All right, what else? Other than transportation, does someone else have another answer? Diego said that one. Same with Vicente. Okay, but the other ones were protection and temperature regulation. Help regulates temperature. All right, good job. All right, excellent job. Any other questions as I'm about ready. I have only a couple minutes left on here, so I will be back on at 5 to 6 o'clock tonight again. And then I'll put information out on the Teams page on more detail with the project, but start thinking of diagrams of moving the blood from to and away from the heart, having them labeled and color coded. Okay, doing the brain pop, 10 questions in the vocabulary with that. All right. And then thinking about a cardiac or cardiovascular disease like heart attack, stroke, hypertension. I'll be presenting on Wednesday some types of cardiac illnesses. Okay. All right. Any other questions before I sign off for today? Questions, comments, concerns, any of you guys? Okay, and Diego, I'll add you to that Teams page to be aware. Make sure you can get on there. If not, if it's the wrong email that I have, email me so I know that address. Then too, you can send me your email address through my email. Okay, Diego, thanks for participating. Good seeing you on here. Anybody other questions that you may have before I sign off for today? All right. Well, I want to wish all you guys a happy Monday here. Go outside, get some fresh air today. It looks like the day's turned nicer than it was earlier with the rain and storms. So we'll see you back here tonight. If you want to check in, it's totally up to you. You don't have to, but if you already sat through the session, but I'll be available at 5 to 6 tonight too. And then again on Wednesday, 8:30 to 9:30 and 1 to 2. Okay. All right, guys, signing off for today. Have a wonderful afternoon, and I'll talk to you guys soon. All right, guys, goodbye.